Well, after that, what can I say? Thank you so much, Matthew, and thank all of you for coming today. Without you and other committed people in this riding and in other parts of Canada, we would not have a campaign, let alone a winning campaign, which is certainly what our target is this time around. A special thanks to Matthew Moody, President of the Calgary Centre-North Riding Association, and his colleagues on the board and the association generally. They've been working very hard over the last 2 months, including Linda Schultz, who was the campaign manager, in fact, for the campaign in 2008. I would like to introduce just a couple of people who are very close to the campaign and very close to me. But I would like to start with Dr. Ann Katzenberg, to whom I have the very good fortune to be married, and who is tolerating my increasing absences and distraction. She's also my best critic. She does remind me not to get caught up in either the positive or the negative media attention, and certainly not to believe the positive side. I would also like to introduce James Maxon at the back in the very elegant straight jacket. James, of course, a former Liberal candidate in Calgary, won 23,000 votes the last time that he won. He's also run successful campaigns, and he has kindly taken on the task of steering this campaign to success. James, thank you. Michael Wiley. Mike, you're here. Mike Wiley. Former Dean of Law at the University of Calgary, now with McLeod Dixon, is the official agent with the campaign. Vincent St. Pierre. Vincent, Vincent who has taken on the social media and web tasks associated with the campaign. He's actually been able to teach me to use Twitter. That in itself took only a couple of days. Gillian Dowdy. Gillian, you're hiding something. Gillian's at the back. Gillian works with the Alex Social Services Agency, although she is a graduate of the University of Calgary with two degrees, and happily my former MA student, I hasten to add, who is the coordinator of volunteers. She is the lady you need to talk to if you're willing to help in any way with this campaign. So thank you all for coming, and thank you those who have taken on very specific tasks with the campaign. You are a wonderful group of people. It is a tremendous honor, and indeed a humbling one, to be the Liberal Party, a little bit frightening actually, to be the Liberal Party candidate in Calgary Centre-North for the next federal election, whether it is a by-election or a general election. But I'd like to say a little bit about what liberalism, small l as well as large L, liberalism means to me. Liberalism for me has always been the liberalism of, and this dates me, I grant you, of Mackenzie King and Louis Saint Laurent and Lester Pearson. Liberalism reaches out to all Canadians without exclusion of class, without exclusion of religion, of gender, or of ethnicity. Liberalism has always been inclusive. It shies away from narrow ideological positions. It has a desire to provide practical and meaningful programs for all Canadians. Liberalism has meant a balance between the freedom of the individual and the role of the state and society, with government seeking to advance the interests of all Canadians, to liberate, as the name implies, to liberate the individual. Liberalism has sought to protect the weak and disadvantaged as much as it has advanced the interests of those of us who have more advantage. It's my desire to bring that inclusiveness to the residents of Calgary Centre-North, to provide a strong and experienced voice to support the interests of all people in this riding, regardless of traditional party preferences and traditions. The Liberal tent is a big one. It's been said many times, we reach out to people regardless of party affiliation. We all have a common goal, after all, and that's to advance the well-being of all Canadians, to ensure that we have adequate health care for all, to ensure that all Canadians, whether rich or poor, long-time residents or new arrivals in Canada, have access to the highest quality of education, to the highest quality of social services that this rich country can afford to offer. We need to ensure that the average working Canadian can look forward to a future that is sustainable in every sense of that word: meaningful employment, safe communities, a healthy environment. As a society, we need to move beyond thinking that there's no way to reconcile a healthy environment with a sustainable economic life. To realize those goals, this country needs open, transparent, and democratic debate in government.
Hear, hear.
Open, transparent, and democratic debate where all ideas are treated with the respect they deserve, whether we are talking about the nature of our healthcare system or the impact of natural resource development on the environment. For the past half-decade, we have been confronted by a minority government which has failed to listen to the majority of Canadians, has ignored the advice of experts and average citizens alike. At a time when Canadians are concerned about pensions, we hear of threats of tampering with the Canada Pension Act. At a time that Canadians are concerned about the environment, we're confronted with a government that is increasing expenditures on correctional services by 21% and cutting more than $400 million from environmental programs. Natural Resources Canada is seeing a $390 million cut, including the termination of the incentive program for homeowner reduction of energy consumption. We have seen too little respect from this government for basic democratic principles and engagement. Too little respect for the role of elected officials in Parliament. Too little respect for Parliament as our basic democratic institution. Too little respect for ministerial responsibility. Witness the most recent and cynical, dare I say, effort to manipulate the ethnic vote and to pass the blame for ministerial responsibility onto a poor staff member.
Shame.
The candidate of Mackenzie King, Louis Saint-Laurent, and Lester Pearson was also a candidate that was internationally respected, which, as some have suggested, punched above its weight in international affairs. We have needlessly lost a great deal of that luster, as well as our capacity even to deliver in cases of international emergencies. We can barely evacuate a few hundred nationals from Libya. We need to ensure that our diplomats and civil servants generally are given the resources and the respect, frankly, that their qualities deserve to enable them to advance Canadian interests at home and abroad. We need a strong military, but we need a military that meets Canadian needs in a world that is dramatically changing, that no longer faces the traditional threats of the Cold War. I've spent, and it was evident in Matthew's comments at the beginning, more than 40 years working on and in the international arena. There is so much more that Canada can do in this area, just as there is so much more that we can do to protect the environment, to preserve Canadian culture and Canadian cultural institutions, to defend Canadian sovereignty, whether it's in the north or on our southern border. Like other residents of this riding and everywhere else in Canada, I have watched our community and our country grow and change over the many decades. Like many Canadians, I'm the product of immigrant grandparents, English on the one side, Italian on the other. It has been, for me personally, a long voyage from a semi-rural area east of Toronto in the 1940s and 1950s, where and when I grew up, to the major urban area in which we now live and the challenges, the very different challenges that we now face. Like many of you here today, I've been a student, a desperate seeker of employment in the early years after graduation, like most academics. I have been a parent. I am now a grandparent of two rapidly growing grandchildren who live in Ontario. My daughter completed her secondary and postgraduate education here, and I'm now, also like some of you, a senior citizen, but still working hard for my profession and I think for our students as well. This country, ladies and gentlemen, has been very kind to me. In fact, it has been very kind to all of us. And I seek to continue to give back to that nation that has given so much to me. I ask for your support, for your vote, the very sacred commitment of a democratic vote in the next federal election, so that I may represent your interests as a member of Parliament for the people of Canada, of Calgary Centre-North. Thank you so much for coming today, and thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from Steve.